Good, Emily? Or do you need a minute? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We will move back into regular session. We will stand and do the flag salute. Susan, could you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. So, adoption of the agenda.
Yes, so we have a couple recognitions tonight from two student groups, one recognition from a very talented young group. We're also going to give out some recognitions for service. We then have two reports, one tied to a capstone projects at 8th grade at Talmadge and some CTE criminal justice pathway, because that's one of our newer pathways. We'll go into public comments. We do have one standing report tied to our English language proficiency assessment. I do have a couple of updates for the superintendent report, then into the board report, our consent agenda, one business agenda item, closing comments, and then we will go back into executive session at the end of the meeting. And no adjustments
So far.
so far.
All right, well, let's start with recognitions.
All right, so this evening with us, we have and I want to make sure I get their name right. We wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Marshall, Jake, and David, who make up the team Operation Donut, correct? Did I get it correct? All right, who are members of a youth coding league. Through the Independence Library, the students have been involved in coding competitions and supported by Independence Library Director Patrick Bodley. Okay, this is the first time the library has ever hosted the national championship. And they're here because we want them to share a little bit about the programming, both from a student lens and then obviously from the community partner end in the work that they have done. So gentlemen, please come on up and share a little bit about the competition and what exactly you did in the coding competition, if you can share that with the public and those that are with us today. And then please introduce yourself.
I'm Jake. I'm David. And I'm Marshall. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I have to speak into there.
But, we did a coding competition funded by Idea Hub. Yeah, and we were Operation Donut. We did Youth Coding League, which was a organization where we took a program called Scratch, and we went and we did several prompts at the beginning called sprints, and towards the end, which is where we did got the national title, was the postseason, where we
went up against other teams and
Yeah.
had like Microsoft and like
Yeah.
Google judge
Yeah.
us.
and so we made it to the finals and in technical merit, and we won. Yeah.
Can you describe in your words what technical merit means for people that may not know coding? So can you give us a little bit of like what that means for people?
It's kind of like, well, there was two categories. There was community favorite, yeah, where like I think there might have been a link on social media for the community favorite like playoff segment, and then they just had people like vote for the community favorite who like they thought was the best project, and then technical merit we were actually judged by like computer science engineers. Or did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, and there was I'm sorry, David, you take it up. I'm out.
So basically, technical mirror is where like you have to make the game smart. It's like it has to be like very good
Big brain.
programmed. Yeah.
It's gotta have like a, no, it can't have a mind of its own.
It's
Like,
also
we're
it's
using
also
a
really hard to achieve because like you have a lot of time to work on this project, but you have to finish it at a certain time. You have like a certain downtime.
It was like 2 or 3 weeks.
So it was Yeah. 2 weeks, and then 1 week.
4 weeks. 4 weeks.
Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah.
So
So,
this
hope I
was,
did my
this
math
was a
right.
game you were coding?
we could have done a game. We had a game section, but
Yeah, there was like a prompt to ask, I like, YCL has like a, like theme for each season, and this season,
Space.
yeah, was space.
yeah.
And the playoff prompt for Tech Merit and Community Favorite, right? Yeah, they were the same.
Yeah.
Was to like simulate or do like a little, yeah, like essentially a video, but with that, like an animated video, essentially
Yeah.
explaining what life is like on a space station. And then
also
we did have like a couple games and like a comedy
Yeah.
segment that was like after you watch the animated video.
Yeah, you could.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes to the, you could take the comedy or the game section.
Yeah, and also I didn't have to be less than like a minute or
3 minutes.
3 minutes
Mhm.
long.
Yeah.
Director Bodley, you want to add anything? Please.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Well, Neil, cool.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for having us. First of all, these are my notes, so I'm gonna look at them. So the Youth Coding League, basically was designed for 5th through 8th grade students. We were the first and only library in the country where it was run. Most of the other teams that these kids were up against were after-school programs or boys and girls clubs or things like that nature. They hit on the fact that they have a different theme every year or every season. There was a spring and there was a fall season. This season there was space. They also use the term, our 3 coders here use the term sprints. That was just the name for their regular season assignments. So they had 8 regular season assignments before they moved on to the postseason. They did hit on community favorite versus technical merit. We did have a team that moved on in community favorite, but not to the finals. These 3 did win that technical merit, which is where they were actually getting judged. So super awesome if people move on because their community supports them. Really amazing that these guys won, not just moved on, but won because of how they were judged by not the librarian who knows nothing about computer science, but by people who actually work in coding and things like that. So they were judged anonymously by those. You'll also notice, and I have to make this announcement, I use the term was. Youth Coding League announced 2 weeks ago that they're discontinuing the program. So the library we are dedicated to this. It's obviously been a big hit. Our funder is also dedicated to having something still going. I've been looking at something called Experience CS, which is run through the Raspberry Pi Foundation. We are going to be able to expand a coding program at the library for 3rd through 8th grade instead of just 5th through 8th grade. We would love to partner with the school, obviously. However, we can do that, even if it's just putting flyers up in the schools and saying, hey, come here. But I'm excited that we're going to be able to expand that to more people. Happy to answer any questions, but thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. So.
Oh, yeah.
We do have a few for you, and they read student growth and achievement, because obviously coding is a big part of learning and growing. This is presented to, and then your names are on each of us for taking the national title in coding and representing Central School District well off campus. And then for Mr. Bodley, we have one for you because again, this is about our community partnership recognition, obviously presented for leading students and learning through clubs that encourage developing real life skills they can use. So come on up here, all of you. We'll give you these awards.
We gotta stay for a picture too.
You guys got to turn around and let Emily get your pictures.
Come on up here. Oh, you gotta come this way, come right.
She's the second.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Great. And
All right, it is also that time of year, as we close out the 24th, I can't even believe that that's happening. We have a few more days and the 24-25 school year is closing. But it is that time to recognize our staff who are retiring and have dedicated 20 or more years to Central School District. So joining us this evening, we have 3 staff members who are retiring that have been with us for 20 years or more. So we're going to do this in order, and the plaques that they receive say, in appreciation to staff member for your dedication and service to the children of Central School District 13J, Independence, Oregon, and then the dates of service that the teachers were with us. So joining us, we have 3 today. First is Brad. I almost called you Bradley, but they caught me and said, make sure you say Brad. Brad Berry from Talmadge Middle School. He was with us 21 years total. So come on up here, Brad. Brad taught science most of the time, right? Yep, a little bit of robotics and just, again, opportunity to walking through his classroom, enjoyed what he was doing with kids, hands-on experiences for kids in science. So I'm happy that you're retiring, and sad in other ways as well because of what you do for students. All right, the next one we have again is Claudette Garcia. She has been with the district for 30 years of service. She has spent, I believe, the whole time at Independence, or am I incorrect? The whole time. Yep, the whole time at Independence Elementary. And student taught at Independence. Wow. So Claudette Garcia. And I believe most of your teaching was 3rd grade. I know you jumped around a couple different grade levels. Oh, kinder. Just the last few years has been 3. Okay. Under my time, it's been 3rd grade. All right, and last but not least, we would like to recognize Brett Baldwin. Brett Baldwin has been with Central High School in different capacities, but currently as the assistant principal athletic director. He also has had 30 years of service within Central. So please give a warm welcome up to Brett Baldwin, who's retired. I will just say to the 3 of you, again, in my short 8 years here, you all have outlasted me, obviously, but I do appreciate just being able to walk through your classrooms or being in partnership with you, what you do for students in the school district and have done that for many years. So thank you very much. I know you're probably still going to be in the community, may walk away from kids for a little bit, but we always need subs. Just going to say, don't hesitate to come back if you have that, because we would bring you back with open arms in any way in form or fashion. So congratulations on retirement. All right, two more. So we also have two outgoing board members, both in Mr. Don Wall and Mrs. Peggy Klein. So let me begin by saying thank you for serving the Independence and Monmouth student, staff, and community as board members. Don has been on the board for 12 years and Peggy for 10 years. That's a very long time. That's to have good consistency in board leadership. Thank you for being thought partners and sounding boards with me throughout my tenure here as the superintendent. Again, both of you being in leadership roles at different times. I appreciate that greatly in the conversations, some that were fun, some that were not always, and how we continue to work in support of students, staff, and our community that we serve. I think under your tenure, we have built our strategic plan. We built our performance metrics tied to that strategic plan, which was driven by, again, your leadership on the board for the last, obviously, 10 to decade here. You, as part of the board, approved a 2A immersion program at Independence Elementary, which will be going into its 4th year next year, rolling up into 3rd grade. You've approved K-12 language arts, Spanish language arts, and our new K-12 math curriculum that's going to be coming forth. We are confident you will continue to find ways to serve students, staff, and community in this district. I know what you both are involved in, and I am thankful that you will continue that and be in our community. So thank you for continuing and building upon an inclusive culture of belonging and learning for the success of the whole child, whole educator, and whole community. So you both get, this also says an appreciation, and then has your name for the dedication and service to the children and patrons of Central School District. So thank you, Don and Peggy, for your service.
Come back and get another
All right, now I'm going to have, joining us, I'm going to have Miss Rosanna Larson come on up here because she has several groups that she'll introduce. One an 8th grade group from Talmadge tied to our talented and gifted. And then we do also have a presentation tied to our newest CTE criminal justice pathway completers for some short presentations.
Introduce myself since I was just introduced, so thank you. So we're gonna get started with this year. We had our first ever capstone project opportunity for our 8th grade tag students. We were working to try to build some opportunities for tag. And so I have one of our fabulous students who did that. And then one of the other students wasn't able to come because he had a baseball game, but he submitted a video that I think that Emily's going to play. Oh, okay. Okay. So we'll have that, and they did some amazing work. So their mission was to select a topic based on their own interests and passions with the purpose to expose, affect, or explore. And some of them did multiple of those things within their presentation. And the students were mentored throughout the school year in questioning, research, perseverance, organization, audience awareness, and presentation. And Virginia Glassman volunteered and helped with this, and she was amazing. She is here tonight too. I'd just like to take this time to recognize her as well. So thank you, Virginia. Yeah. Okay, next slide, yep. So this just talks a little bit about, so we did inquiry-based learning, and they were mentored on the skills of questioning, research, perseverance, organization, audience awareness, and presentation. And so they learned a lot about many of those things. And they will share a little bit about that, I think, as well. So we ask students to explore this and to do this really for the love of learning, which is what we hope to instill in our students. And we try to be successful with that as much as we can. So, all right, so we're next one. Please. Yep. You had it. Okay. Well, maybe we'll have you start.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
All
it
right,
works.
so you go ahead.
Do you want to go to a couple more slides? Because I have a couple slides in here. Next one. There we go. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Alyssa Glassman, and my capstone project was on nanorobots and childhood cancer. So as a bit was explained, the capstone project was where we had the whole year to choose a topic, and then we got to research the topic, create a presentation, and then present said topic. So to start off with our figuring out what our topic was, we had about a month and a half to 2 months to figure out something that we were passionate about or something we wanted to learn a bit more about. And then we got to go deeper by asking 7 to 10 questions that we would then later on research. One of my favorite parts was definitely the research process, just because I had this opportunity to look at multiple different topics and then, or not necessarily topics, but like different resources and then compile it all into one thing. I feel like a lot of the time just with school, when we do presentations or essays, teachers give us either websites, articles, or just they give us certain things and then we use those to create our presentations or essays. However, with this, I got to look at different resource ideas. Like we explored the TED Ed library and Google Scholar, which was a really cool opportunity for me to learn what other sort of things we could use. So I really loved the research process. Part of the research process, I actually learned how to create a pie chart, which was really cool for me because I've never really used slides. So my topic, as I said, was childhood cancer and nanorobots. This pie chart compares the amount of medicines for children compared to the amount of medicines for adults that have been FDA approved in the last 30 years. So for adults, it's over 200, and for children, it's been 7, which was something I went in deeper comparing adults and children and the treatments they have, which was an amazing opportunity for me as well. So continuing on, we went to the after we did the research, we would start building a presentation. And I've got to say, I've never created such a long slideshow. Not necessarily that it was long, but just because it was really important to me. And I loved being able to create something that I could share with others. So when I presented, I learned multiple different important skills. As you might be able to tell, I talk fast, especially when it's something I'm interested in, passionate about, or just really excited about. And you might not be able to tell, but I've actually improved a whole lot throughout this year. And it just made me really proud to see how I've grown. The next thing was being able to interact and connect with my audience. So part of my topic was childhood cancer or just cancer in general, which I feel like everybody's had some sort of experience with it, whether it be through a friend, coworker, family member, or even if they've experienced it themselves. And I felt like I could connect with my audience by sharing my own personal experience when my cousin went through cancer. And I felt like that helped them understand where I was coming from. I also got to interact with my audience. So one of my favorite parts about my presentation was when I had everybody on a small slip of paper draw what they thought a nanobot looked like. And it was really entertaining because I hadn't told them anything about nanorobots, so it was just really cool. I still have the papers in my room actually, just to look back on. And so it was just really fun to interact with the audience that way, especially as a lot of the time back to presentations at school, they don't really have us interact with the audience that much. And so it was a great opportunity to like level up my presenting skills. Next, future of science. So part of this was just learning about nanorobots, which was like, oh my gosh, something we can do to like figure out how to cure cancer, which has been around for so long, like forever. And we're close to solving it, which is crazy. And just thinking how much science can impact the future later on. And then finally, as I mentioned, my cousin Keegan, he was diagnosed and then passed away with cancer during COVID. And I felt like I could honor my cousin through this presentation. A lot of my family members actually came to my presentation in like Monday on like conference nights. And they came up to me that night, and they've actually come up to me multiple times after that, saying how much they appreciated my presentation because of what it meant to them. So that's why my presentation meant so much to me, and it's really made a difference. And I know that I couldn't have actually done my presentation if it weren't for the people with the who helped. So Miss Larson and my mom, thank you. So, and also my peers. without having the dedicated time or to have the people who could support me and to help direct me, I know I wouldn't have been able to get this done. And so it's made a huge difference for me. At this time, if you have any questions about like the capstone presentation or my project in general, I'm willing to answer any questions.
What does it now?
Okay, so there's about 5 different types of nanorobots. They can help with like blood clots. They can help, they can replicate immune cells. They can bring oxygen throughout the body. The one I talked about, mostly talked about was basically these kinds that have, they can actually carry medicine to a specific spot in the body. So if there's a cancer spot, instead of trying to have radiation or chemotherapy go throughout the whole body, which then affects the whole body, it can go to that specific cancer site and then inject the medicine there, which I thought was really useful. So then it wouldn't like have as many detrimental effects throughout the whole body. So
Yeah.
a nanometer compared to a meter is about the same as a marble compared to the size of the whole Earth. And the average nanobot is about 20 to 30 nanometers, if that helps with scale. So really, really, really tiny. Any other questions? I think there's actually some place, Portland, I think has a place that they have that does a bit of nanorobots, but there's like different nanorobotic labs that throughout like the world that creates nanorobots.
I believe the OHSU is the only hospital in our area that has that and I only know that just because I had a friend that went through some of that. So
You were talking about research, how you got to sort of expand the field of source material. How were you able to distinguish between what was credible and what was not?
Because there were so many different sources, if I noticed that like through 2 or 3 sources all agreed on something, then I would like deem it credible. And also noticing like some of the stuff we've learned in our ELA classes about how it ends, is it like a .gov, is it a .com or .org, and also just like I've didn't just seeing different things. I interviewed my aunt a bit, and so she helped me connect with some other people as well, and so that's how I knew it was credible.
What do you plan to do when you grow up?
I want to be a JPL engineer. So that's JPL is Jet Propulsion Laboratories, basically NASA.
Absolutely fabulous. Good job.
Thank you.
Absolutely fabulous.
Anything else?
Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Getting Hudson. So, but the students were amazing. They worked every week, at least one time a week. They gave up time in their pride class, and they would come down and they would work with us. And there was a lot to do. There were a lot of steps that we went through, really learning about research, different research platforms, what's valuable and reliable research. But they were really amazing. And then they had an evening where they presented, and for 3 students, there were 3 of them who presented, and they packed that library. It was really amazing how many people showed up to support them. So I was incredibly impressed, and we hope that we will have the capacity to offer it for next year's 8th graders as well. So, all right, thank you.
we can, if you want to do the other group, we can always come back to this if we're still working through that.
Okay, great. So joining me are a couple of our recent Central graduates. So, and they are part of our group of 11 students who were our first capstone completers for the criminal justice program. So this was the first year that we offered that. And in that program, we had 3 of those students took and passed the ORPAT, which is the Oregon Physical Abilities Test that is required for law enforcement. And so that was impressive that our students were able to do that. 9 full FEMA certifications came out of this program at the 100 and the 200 level, and that's a national industry recognized certification. 3 of our students have gone on and already have cadet placements and ready to go. And as a group of the 11 students, they have over 500 hours of professional learning and hands-on experience this school year. So, and over half of those students are going into a career in law enforcement. And some of them weren't sure about that starting off, and now they are. So we're excited about that. And then next year we have 25 students. So we've more than doubled the students who are going to enter in that capstone. And we have over 250 students who want to take the introduction course. So we're really growing that pathway. I would like to thank also our local police departments, Monmouth and Independence PD, and my husband, Todd Larson, who's recently retired from Marion County. They helped to build this capstone and the speakers that they and the people that they organized to go in, and they're going to share a little bit about that. So I'll turn it over to Hannah, and you can introduce yourself.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Hannah Gilbert, and I just went through the capstone project. So a little bit about that is it is offered, it was mostly I think it was all seniors this year who have completed all of the CJ classes. And then, so we meet every other day, and it's divided in half. So half of the class time is like independent learning, where we go through the FEMAs, and we did 100, 200, 700, and 800. So the FEMA stands for Federal Emergency Management Agency, and it's basically an agency that helps local law enforcement, just law enforcement all over the nation prepare for disasters, whether that's planned or unplanned. So that could be the 4th of July and how you manage that, all those people, or it could be an actual disaster. So it's how you prepare for that. So these are certifications that fortunately take a very long time and can be very boring, but it's a requirement to be a police officer. So that was really nice that we were able to get all of those done, and it was free for us too. We also went through ORPAT. So we got an opportunity to run that with a certified instructor. So we all got papers that we can then take to law enforcement agencies if we want to become a cadet. And so that is one of the qualifications you need for the cadet program. And so we got that too. And then we also got interview preparation. So we met with local law enforcement agencies with Monmouth and Independence, and they kind of just went through their interview processes. So it varies from agency to agency, their questions and how they go about it. And so they kind of prepared us to go into an interview in the future, which was really nice, and kind of told us some of the questions to expect and things that they were looking for, so we can prepare for that in the future. And then also we just gained so much experience in connections, the connections with the SWAT teams or Monmouth Independence police departments. We went and talked to a judge and kind of got to see how the court process worked a little bit. And then we just did so many things within that. So within the police departments, we learned handcuffing and defensive tactics and all that. It was a lot of hands-on things. We actually accidentally spiked a police car on accident, which was a complete accident. We thought we had the practice strips, and they were not the practice strips. So that was, yeah.
I'm sure that was good learning for everyone during that time.
Yes, we did get to watch Les Schwab change a tire for 30 minutes. And I don't think anybody was expecting that. It was really entertaining for all of us. And then we just went through like simple things like traffic stops, and we got to actually perform that, where we took out the cars and we went over the radio and did all of that stuff, which was super fun. And I think all of these things combined just really prepared us for a job in law enforcement if we're interested. And even for those that weren't interested or didn't know if they were, it was just kind of eye-opening to see how local law enforcement works, because it's so different than what you see on TV. So I think it was just nice to see how that worked and understand that like the officers in our community are members of our community. Like they're people, they have families. And so I think that was good for everybody to see too. And then I think Haley is gonna explain a little bit about what she's doing with that.
Do you
So-
want to say really quick what you're going to
No.
do?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go to Western, and I'm gonna pursue a degree in criminal justice, and then go into law enforcement, and hopefully FBI as a special agent after that. So, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Haley. So I definitely think that the criminal justice capstone has helped a lot. It's definitely more hands-on than the other 3 classes that we had to take, which were criminal justice, criminology, and then forensic science. It's been a lot of hands-on work. Like Hannah said, we inspect a police car. We got to learn how to use handcuffs. We actually got to see someone actually get tased. So that was pretty cool. It was a good experience to learn and see like what happens to the body. And if you shoot in different areas, it affects it. Like one got shot in his leg, and then the other one went to his back, and instantly like he stops moving. Like it's just crazy how it works and how differently tasers have changed from back like 1980s to 2025. Like it's so different. It's really helped me move to the cadet program. I am, I think, the second cadet that is started up since, I don't remember when. I think during COVID they stopped it, and then they just started continuing it up again in 2024. And it's so much fun. I've learned a lot already. I've done multiple ride-alongs with multiple different agencies. I've gone to Dallas, Monmouth Independence. The cadet program is only in Independence right now. I don't know if Monmouth is going to start it, and I know they have one in Marion County as well. But it has the capstone has really helped open up why I want to be an officer, and really helped me like, okay, like I definitely do want to be a cadet. And so it helped open up the opportunity for me to become one. We had someone from Marion County come in and talk about the cadet program, and that's how I really got started. And the process was long and tiring, and there was like 4 interviews I had to go through and a long notebook of questions I had to answer. So that was a lot of work. And another thing that Hannah said, FEMA was boring, but I didn't know I had to get that done to become an officer. So I'm very glad it's done and over with, and I don't have to sit for another like 8 hours and do it again, because that FEMA was not easy. And yeah, it was not a lot of fun, but I am glad I completed it, and it's good to have those certifications in my back pocket in case I need them. Yeah, the capstone was amazing. I loved all the hands-on experience. The field trips were so much fun. It was definitely more intriguing than sitting and going through slideshows. I prefer hands-on. I can learn a lot quicker with it. And the ride-alongs are teaching me so much. I've learned a crazy amount of things from doing them. And I'm hoping to go to Chemeketa and then get my associate's transfer and transfer to Western and get a major in psychology, and then become a police officer and hopefully move up to detective sergeant.
Well, we are looking forward to continuing this program, expanding it. Joel Everett has done a fantastic job with teaching the program. And again, just can't thank our partners enough, and the student feedback, because we have a lot more things that we're going to be offering next year within this program. So thank you.
I will just add, I know that FEMA was boring for you, but that makes me as the superintendent very happy, because the more people that are trained in FEMA, should we ever have anything happen in our community, you will be able to help. So I think that's really important. I publicly want to say that, because that is a huge asset to have as a young person already in your back pocket. So thank you for doing that, even though it was not maybe your funnest part. You could help us in the long run as a community partner. So thank you for that.
Good to go with part 2 of tags. So,
Excellent.
Hudson Stangy's video is ready to go. Thank you, Emily.
And if not, we can get this sent to the board so
Yeah.
they can make sure that we can see that, so I can put that in a Friday report as well. Okay.
All right. Well, he did a fantastic presentation on the impact of sports on people's mental health, and he tied it directly to, he did a survey and gathered the data to see how it correlated with the national resort results, and it's pretty cool. So I think you'll enjoy hearing from him when you get a chance to. So thank you.
Thanks, Rosanna. Thanks.
Can I ask a question? Because I won't be able to sleep until we know this. Did the person volunteer to get tased, or was that a surprise?
It was not a student, and it was a volunteer person. Yeah, they didn't take him out on the street for that. But when they do their ride-alongs, though, they get to see a lot. Sometimes things that are really difficult to see. So that's part of that capstone experience, is seeing, can I handle,
Yeah.
these things. So, yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
All right. Actually, we really are moving to communication from the floor.
Nothing, anything online? All right, well, let's move to.
Okay, so
standing
next we are
reports
going
then.
to program report. So now, come on up. Please welcome Director Monroy. She is going to share with the board the preliminary results of our English language proficiency assessment state test.
Good evening, Superintendent Cabista, members of the board, and Central School District community. So I am here to talk about our preliminary and unofficial ELPA summative and alt ELPA achievement and growth. So this is just a little bit of data about our numbers of students that are receiving services as emergent bilinguals in our school district. We do have students that are on a waiver and students who have exited that are on monitor status. So students who are on a waiver, which is, that's a choice that parents have, they still take the summative assessments. So 538 are students that, as best we can, test them to 100% participation if possible. And we're going to talk about both achievement and growth in this. You're used to this. We've done this annually for a few years now. So when students take the ELPA, they get an overall proficiency score, and then they get scored by each domain in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And so when they get to 4 or 5 on all of the domains, then they are considered proficient, and then they exit. So if you can move, thank you, to the proficiency slide. So looking at the data, I wanted to let you know that this includes ELPA summative and alt ELPA data, both within the proficiency. And we want to congratulate our students. We had 10 students at the high school reach proficiency, which is huge growth, something that we've been working on. And I just really want us to celebrate that growth. And I wanted to let you all know that in addition to that 12th grade proficiency for Central High School was 22% compared to the state level of 6%. So 12th grade was a huge success. And also just want to highlight a few other spots on this proficiency data. 11 students at Ash Creek reached proficiency. And within that, the 3rd grade proficiency rate was at 17% compared to the state at 13%. 5th grade proficiency was at 14% at Ash Creek compared to the state at 11%. And then at IES, we had 9 students reach proficiency this year. In addition, additional information, 2nd grades proficiency was 19% at IES compared to the state level of 18%, and 4th grade proficiency 19% compared to the state at 15%. And I just also want to remind, as we celebrate these 32 emergent bilingual students who reach proficiency, that each student is on their own language acquisition journey. And these assessments are very much tied to where students are at on their journey in that acquisition. So,
and Holly, just on average, because I know that just what you said, on average, how long does it take potentially a student to get proficiency in a second language, as an example?
So there's body of evidence and research that says 5 to 7 years, and then there's other bodies of evidence that say 7 to 10 years. So somewhere between 5 to 10 years is what it takes to reach that level of academic English language proficiency on par with their peers. So if we can move to the next slide. So we're going to look at the growth data the way that we've been looking at over the past several years. I wanted to just remind the board that we're comparing students who have 2 consecutive years of scores. So each year on the graphs that you're going to see, the subsequent graphs are the previous year compared to then that current year. And they're not necessarily the same students within those data sets. So it's not cohort data. And for example, kindergarteners would not be included in this data. First year recent arrivers wouldn't be included in this data because they've only taken the ELPA summative, for example, 1 year and not 2. So we did have a lot of growth last year, and we're really excited about that. We also are planning a deeper dive in with our team on the 16th to look at the data and kind of like what are we learning from it and what next steps do we have. But I do want to speak to the fact that last year we did have the ransomware attack, as you all well remember, and we tested later than we ever have. And so just our wondering is if more time in class and the lateness of the testing window, which was April 10th to April 19th. I'm not saying it did. Could it have impacted the data? We're not sure, but it's something for us to continue to explore. So the first data set is growth in overall proficiency level. So here we're looking at their level overall. So are they going from emerging to progressing to proficient, or very rare cases, sometimes a student can go from emerging to proficient. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of pieces of the data here. IES had 21% kind of staying the same. And if you looked at CHS, continued growth to 16 percentage points in that.
And Holly, both of those schools have the most students that are testing for ALPA, correct?
It is true. If you look at the number slide, the majority of the students on a waiver, sometimes we call it an opt-out. Again, parents can choose to sign a waiver for their students not to participate in program services. However, they do take the ALPA summative. It is a requirement from the federal and state level, as well as us continuing to be aware of their needs and supporting them, because that's what we do, is we support students in their needs. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about our recent arrivers numbers. We have had a beautiful increase of recent arrivers. And so that's almost doubled compared to multiple recent years. I think we looked at like 2017 through 2023. And so when we think about, when we looked at the on track to English language proficiency, just the way that trajectory lays out, students wouldn't necessarily be even gaining any growth in any given domain. If they scored like a 1 in each domain, they would be there for like a subsequent year. We might not see growth. So just something to keep in mind. We also have 77 dual identified students who have an even longer runway on the on track for English language proficiency. So now we're going to look at growth by domain. We're going to start with, growth in one domain first before growth by domain. So these are students who have at least one domain growth, or it could be multiple domain growths. So if we look at Ash Creek, for example, we have last year kind of shooting way up there, but if we look at the other 3 years, so 22 to 23 and then 23 to 25, they went from 66 percentage points to 73 percentage points, then to 76 percentage points.
And again, reminder, this is not cohort data. And I think that's one of the conversations Holly and I, as we've been going, again, preliminary data, but we have some questions that we've started to say, and obviously she's going to meet with our team and move forward with that. But these are not cohorted kids. I think there's conversations of, can we look at cohorted kids maybe a little bit deeper from this perspective to see, because again, we're sort of from year to year, because it's a 2-year process. These are apples and oranges, not apples and apples as an example. So I think we have to keep that in mind as we look at this, but I think there's still some, as I like to say, we harvest some wins from this and some bright spots from that perspective.
And
I
there
have a
are
question that's kind of like that.
Go ahead.
Let me know if this is right or not, because I was thinking before you even brought up the cohort, oh, okay, I think this is not cohort data. And I was thinking about last year, how we had such outrageous good numbers of kids that reached proficiency, and all those kids are no longer in the data, right?
They're on monitor status. So we went from 100 students on monitor status last year to 134 on monitor status. And then if you're a 12th grader, right, then you're mostly at 12th grade, then they've graduated. We do have some 5th year seniors, but that is true. And then also the other thing that can happen is it's where students are at. So if we had that many students that were just right on the cusp and ready to pass, and then they passed, then there might be a bigger group of either recent arrivers, or we also have bubbles of students that are just, they've made growth and now they're just kind of on the cusp. And sometimes that can take a couple of years as well to grow from moving from a 3 to a 4, which would be a proficient on a domain. So, and these are conversations that we're having because there is work that we can do that's specific to the needs of those students, often tied to just looking at rigor and specific, like grammatical structures, for example, that they might need, that they may be looking for in the assessment when they're looking at their writing or listening to their speaking. So these are conversations that our teams are having and will continue to have. So I'm going to move to reading. So, I think now I'm a little bit off on my slides. Anyway, if I repeat this, I'm sorry. So Ash Creek, again, not looking at last year, went from 20% in, I'll look at that one.
22.
In 22, and then went up to 34 percentage points this year. And then CHS as well, a little up, down, but ending up at 21 percentage points.
And we don't have, just so the board knows, we do not have the state average, right? This is preliminary data. We may come back with you. Maybe it could change a little bit in the fall because we have come back to you with an update of that. Once we have the overall by Holly and I were able to get into what's called OSAS, and we can look at our preliminary scores there. And so we did do a little bit of a dive on this past week to say, what grade levels are we at, but we don't have specifically overall from a state level. So once that comes out, we'll get that to you also. You have it to see where we stand. We've been able to do it by grade level, but again, those are still preliminary too. So we have to be careful how we share that.
So moving on to the writing domain. So just a couple of highlights, looking at 22 for Ash Creek, moving from 31 to 38 percentage points, and Monmouth Elementary, 26 percentage points, and 22 to 30 percentage points. And then we'll move on to listening. Looking at growth at Ash Creek from 22 to 25, from 34 percentage points to 50 percentage points. And then IES last year to this year, 38% to 41 percentage points of growth. And then I wanted to speak a little bit to the speaking domain. Speaking has been a focus for our district. It's challenging for when we're learning language to be really successful in writing when you're not able to speak it. So it's really good for language learners to be able to speak and have conversation, use academic language in dialogue, and then be able to take it to writing. And at the middle and high school, the secondary level, students were really struggling with their speaking domains. So we sought out student input, and students were sharing with the staff at the buildings. They were embarrassed because typically you have kind of a small group testing. You might have 15 students or 20 students, depending on your grade level, smaller numbers at younger grades, but they weren't feeling confident in speaking, even though everyone has a headset on and they're at different places in their assessment, and they may not even be on the same part of the test, but they've got, kind of like a little pilot's headset, and they were feeling uncomfortable speaking into the microphone in the testing environment. So at the middle and high school, they were offered an opportunity to take a one-on-one speaking domain assessment if they chose. And so a lot of them did. And at Talmadge, we see the growth that they had in the speaking domain up to 41%. So I think that's also, we're going to celebrate our wins and learn from things that we need to learn from. So I think that's awesome. And then IES as well, just up slightly in the data. And then next slide, please. So the continued focus overall this year has been looking at integrated and focused ELD, and looking at how do we assess language acquisition and ELP standards. we continue the conversation about all staff being language teachers and really looking at collaborative processes between multilingual teams at Talmadge and the high school. There has been monthly professional development that has been really well received for bilingual IAs at Talmadge and the high school. And then again, the continued implementation of the TWE program at IES is another way that we support our multilingual learners, our emergent bilinguals. And then just lastly, I'd like to say that we may want to have continued conversations about figuring out, not figuring out because the formula is there, but it's a more involved process, but looking at the data in regards to the formula used for the on-track to English language proficiency is kind of one of the conversations that we're having.
Which is still complicated when we're
It's
talking about,
Yeah.
you know, this exam. So this is not an easy one of, you know, language acquisition as Director Monroy said, takes time. And so I think also where you enter, I think you're entering kindergarten versus you're entering as a new language learner in ninth grade, right? Just the brain and how we learn, that can change a little bit. And so I think all of that we have to pay attention to and continue to have those conversations.
And it will be interesting to see the data from the state with the on track to English language proficiency and seeing how our students are growing on that trajectory, both for students on the regular timeline and then the students, for example, our dual identified students who are on the extended timeline. It will be interesting. And at the same time, we will be reflecting on just where we can continue to grow, especially with our students that are kind of sitting right under proficiency and what they need to move to the next step.
And Holly's debriefing this with her team. Again, I know in part of our June retreat meeting is now what I'm calling it, because I know you all say it's not a retreat. Our June retreat meeting, we will be, I think some of this conversation that we want to continue to have tied to our strategic plan, I think listening to the team and saying where might we make some shifts and looking at the data, bringing that to you, getting some follow-up from you as well as we continue forward. And moving our students, especially our multilingual students, towards proficiency.
And I'm happy to entertain questions that you may have. If I have the answer, I will respond today. And if not, we'll get back to you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah. All right. So I just have a few things. First off is last week was, I call it graduation week, even though graduation was Friday. I think overall, just an amazing week. Starting off with on Tuesday, we had the Latino graduation, which was double the size as it was the previous year. Just some amazing students doing amazing work within our school district, followed by the next day, we had our basic life skills graduation, and a lot of the students that are at the high school that will come out of basic life skills will come down here to the district office into our transition program. And then Friday, again, which many of you were present, what a beautiful evening to celebrate our graduates, as well as being in a site that we are not normally at, and it was flawless. So I just want to say thanks to all the students and the impeccable work that they did to go across that stage, to the leadership at the high school, Ian Amura, who has helped and led graduation, and a big part of that. It was phenomenal. So I want to acknowledge just the greatness that last week was. We have one more graduation this week with our transition program, so that will happen. So we're very excited for that. I saw Orlando at many of those events as well, and just it's fun to see students supporting one another. On Wednesday, we had the awards, $4.2 million in scholarships. That is double the previous year. And that is with a new college coordinator that was only in the job for less than 6 months. She met with every senior. She's already starting to meet with the juniors. I think you're seeing some really good things in leadership at the high school and moving in that direction as we, want to graduate people 4 years in their 4-year cohort. And if not, then we're being able to capture them in the 5-year completer. So some really good steps taken and just a beautiful, beautiful week last week from a graduation standpoint. The other thing tied to the high school, I get to announce finally that Central School District and Central High School are pleased to announce that Rick Dormer has accepted the role as the new high school principal. Mr. Dormer has been a high school administrator in Alaska for many years. He taught math, was an instructional coach, and as well as district mathematics specialist before he moved into administration. He's also served as the president of the Alaska Association of Secondary School Principals. And he will officially be joining our team July 1st, although we have started some conversations with him, and it's been great to get to know him and start to bring him on board. We are also excited to have in the district and at Central High School, are pleased to announce that Brandis Piper has accepted the new position of the assistant principal athletic director. He has been a teacher, instructional coach, and an athletic coach at McKay High School in Salem for 13 years. He's pretty much coached everything. He was the head football coach at McKay for 5 years, and then he also coached collegiately at Willamette University. This is his first administration position. He will also be joining the team in July. And so I just want to all of you and to the community, although we have announced this, it's my first time, that we're excited to have Mr. Dormer and Mr. Piper join the Central High School administrative team. So very excited about that. And then last piece is feedback from the board tied to the policy JEB with early entrance. So a couple of things I just want to share based on the feedback. So we have received feedback from 66 people, which is fantastic, from the community as of today, because we double checked it one more time. Overall, the data is 36 to 30 in favor of keeping the early entrance option. If the board would like to keep this policy, because that is up to you, my recommendation would be that we update the policy and the administrative rule to reflect some of the community feedback, because I do think there's some things in there that I think would help this process, that in talking with administrative leadership and some of the approaches at the elementary, in conversations with the 3 elementary principals, I think there's some little nuanced changes that we can make that will meet the needs of the families that have shared the information with us. So I really just need guidance from you if you would like us to move forward with that, and then we could talk about next steps. If you do want to not have the policy, then you would need to vote on that today. But if it's something that you would like us to continue to move forward with, we would potentially bring that policy back to you in July.
With the revisions that were
Correct.
Suggested by the community feedback.
Yes. And we would get those updated and probably send it to you in a Friday report. So you would have that first, and then we would, again, publicly, we could have a little conversation if needed at the June 23rd meeting, and then we could bring it formally to the board at our July meeting.
And can I ask a question? If we're going to use the community feedback to guide some of the changes, we would still go back with who to verify that nothing in there is against.
Yeah, we will work with our legal counsel.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Yes, absolutely. So any adjustments outside of what, especially if the policies come from OSBA and we make any adjustments, those will be reviewed by legal counsel before we would bring them to you.
Thoughts? I'm okay. My thoughts are either dump the policy or make it into a useful policy. So,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so then what we will do is we'll make some adjustments to it. And again, we've had some really good conversations already with leadership and some of the things. What we will do is then, if we need to have a conversation or show you a first view, we'll give that to you on June 23rd. We'll formally do it on the July meeting, and we do not have to go through 3 readings. So if you are comfortable with it at that time, you can approve it. And that way we can start those processes as we begin the 25-26 school year, trying to get my brain to shift there, even though we're not done with 24-25. So I think I will say this is the first time we've done more of a survey feedback for policy. I do think this is something that we will continue, but I think that we'll continue that conversation as a group. But I do think there were some really good things that came out of this, and having it on up and being able to get feedback from the community. That is it.
Thank you. Moving on to the board report, our summer board retreat in quotes on June 23rd. Next regular board meeting will be July 7th.
Actually, that should say the 14th.
Oh, right.
Should
We
be
just
July
changed it to the
14th. Sorry about that.
July 14th. And the swearing in will occur on the July 14th as well, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the consent agenda.
I'll move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Moved by Dawn, seconded by Jan. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, raise your hand. 6, any opposed? It's unanimous. Consent agenda is approved. Onto the business agenda. You all should have a copy of the summary of the performance evaluation. And I'll just read it into the record if that's all right with you guys. June 9th, 2025, to whom it may concern, the summary represents the full evaluation of Superintendent Dr. Jennifer Kabista by all 7 of the Central School District 13J Board of Directors. All of these directors have served this last year with Dr. Kabista. The criteria used were those recommended in the OSBA workbook on superintendent evaluation. They are visionary leadership, ethics and professional norms, inclusive district culture, culturally responsive instructional leadership and improvement, communication and community relations, effective organizational management, effective financial management, and policy governance and advocacy. The goals that Dr. Kabista and the board set at the beginning of the year are also included. Improve supportive environments, improve quality and timely data to support the cycle of continuous improvement, improve quality instruction. The outcome of the scores and comments provided by board members to indicate Dr. Kabista to be performing at or above standard in the overall performance of her duties. Dr. Kabista continues to score high ratings in the areas of ethics, inclusive district culture, and governance and advocacy. These scores are qualitatively reflected by comments such as, quote, a sound understanding of our policies and uses fair and equitable judgment in carrying out her duties. This is a top priority for Superintendent Kabista. Superintendent Kabista is top notch in this area and is well connected at the governance level. Keeping positive momentum this year was no easy task. Faced with obstacles such as technical issues that knocked the district's network out for several days, a failed school bond in the November ballot, and administrative instability, particularly at the high school. Despite those challenges and numerous others, Dr. Kabista steadily kept moving projects forward and leading to successful outcomes in numerous areas, i.e. replacing the turf on the multipurpose field, replacement of the track surrounding the field, successful principal and athletic director / assistant principal searches at the high school, improved climate and culture scores for district services, the implementation of improved parent and community communication services, including Parent Square, and a successful budget messaging and process. Most importantly, student testing scores improved, leading to growth and achievement in grade levels and focus groups. Over the coming year, the board looks forward to working with Dr. Kabista, continuing to plan for, support, and facilitate positive growth in the district. Particular focus will be on furthering student academic growth and achievement and providing support and leadership to the professionals who directly deliver education and support services to our students and their families. Respectfully, Byron Schenkel, Board Chair. We'll now move to closing items. Comments from the board.
Just briefly.
Go for it.
As usual, our students were absolutely top notch in their presentations. They were so excited and genuine. And you could see proud parents and relatives in the audience. It's just a lovely community feeling, celebrating those kids who've just been doing, I now know what a what's it called?
Nanobot.
Nanobot. It's- yeah, I just really impressed with them.
Too. I just wanted to echo what Dr. Cabista was saying about switching, how flawlessly graduation was. So
It was.
I don't know who to name by name in that process, but to everyone who was involved in that, that was very well done. And just, I appreciate the behind the scenes work that goes into all that stuff. So thank you very much.
Not surprisingly, I have something to say also. I went, besides graduation, I went to the Latino ceremony on Monday and the Tuesday, and the senior awards ceremony on Wednesday. And at both of those events, again, students, so impressive. It just makes you wish that more people in the community could see their achievements because they're so great. So impressive.
Absolutely true.
So I should at least say thank you for putting up with me for not all 12 years, because I think I'm the only one that's been here 12 years. But it has been most of the time a joy to work with each and every one of you, and I wish you the best as you move forward. I'm sure it will come with continuing challenges, but there are exciting results like the kids tonight. And I hope that at least on a couple of occasions, I've added a positive contribution to the group. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peggy.
So just a comment about the criminal justice CTE program and all the FEMA classes that they're taking in it. If we manage to turn them to the dark side and get them to the fire department, they'll already have their FEMA classes done. Because you got to take the same classes.
Start poaching students.
By the way, when I first met Ben Stange, our fire chief, he was a police cadet for the Portland Police Bureau. And we turned him to the dark side and he came to the fire department. Now he's fire chief. It can happen.
All right. If there are no other comments from the board, we will take a 5-minute recess and then move into executive session. So back here at 8:03.